Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of My Thoughts. I'm just gonna get the elephant out of the room. I haven't uploaded My Thoughts in since October, which is months and months and months ago. Maybe not as long as ago, but it was a long time ago, and I haven't uploaded My Thoughts since October. And it's been very inconsistent here on the channel, even though I have said I'll be more consistent with it. And the reason for that is I don't really have anything I want to do my thoughts on, and that it's the kind of thing with this series. Sometimes there's not really anything I want to talk about, on my thoughts or give my thoughts on or whatever. Now, don't get me wrong, I love this series and I love the culture it brings to the channel because it's not, usually it's not anything to do with gaming. It's other things that I normally wouldn't talk about because, I cover gaming content, which is why I brought my thoughts to bring some culture to the channel, talking about like different things and whatnot. So that's, I do like my thoughts, but there's just some times where it's really dry and there's nothing that I really want to talk about. So that's kind of the tough part about my thoughts, that it can really go dry and there'll just be, not too much to talk about. So that's the thing with my thoughts. That being said, we are coming back better than ever with my thoughts because I have a lot that I want to talk about now, and there's a lot actually going on within the world and everything, and just different things I would like to give my thoughts on. So I have a lot of stuff on my thoughts and my notes, and there'll be a lot of, my thoughts is making a full comeback is my point on it. For the most part, there's a lot of stuff that I do want to talk about, and I feel like there's a lot of coming stuff I want to talk about. So my thoughts is going to be more you know, more consistent is my point. And I know I've said that before, but I do have a lot of stuff in my notes, like I said, and usually when I put stuff in my notes for video ideas and whatnot, it usually makes the cut and everything. So there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about, including one of the what I want to be annual things. That brings me to what we'll be talking about today: my thoughts on Super Bowl 58. So we did this last year when the Eagles were in the Super Bowl. The Eagles and the Chiefs were also in the Super Bowl. And that was the first time I ever really did that. And I only talked about sports a couple times on this channel, mainly in my thoughts. So, and if I haven't mentioned, I'm sure I said it before, I'm into sports, all kinds of sports: hockey, baseball, soccer. Well, actually, no, I lied. Not soccer. Hockey, baseball, football, basketball, and all that stuff, the main sports. And I'm really into that. So, if I haven't mentioned that already, I already like Philly teams and all that stuff. I'm sure I've mentioned that in past videos. But we did this last year because My Thoughts has been running for a little bit over a year now, actually. And last year, I did a My Thoughts on Super Bowl 57, and I pretty sure I said that. I can't really too much remember, but I want to make this an annual thing, and I'm pretty sure I said that when I did this last year. I want to make talking about the Super Bowl, and even though the Eagles didn't play this year in the Super Bowl, I want to talk about the Super Bowl every year. It's a big event for everybody. There's a lot of traditions that go into it. And I want to make giving my thoughts on the Super Bowl every year. So it's going to be a yearly thing. So I want to get that going, and we're going to continue it here with this is my thoughts on the Super Bowl. So this year the Super Bowl was with the Niners and the Chiefs, which they've played quite the past. In 2020 they played, in February 2020 they played, and they played again this year. And of course both teams are very, very different. Um, Particularly the Niners, they had a lot of changes over the past years, a lot of trades and whatnot. Now, a lot of people over the internet, they didn't want this Super Bowl between these two teams. They really wanted the Ravens and the Lions, which I'm one of those people, which I really wanted to see the Lions make it to a Super Bowl, the Ravens too, and a lot of people are tired of the Chiefs because, if you guys are watching or into football at all, a lot of people don't like the Chiefs nowadays because Taylor Swift is with Travis Kelce and all that stuff. But personally, that's just I don't get into that business. I just stick to football. Now it is annoying. If I had to give my honest opinion on it, it is very annoying at times. However, I wanted to see the Ravens and the Lions just like everybody else. Now this Super Bowl, it wasn't my favorite Super Bowl. It had to be one of the worst Super Bowls I've watched in the previous times, and that's just the harsh reality because in the beginning of it, it was, and I watched the game, of course. In the beginning of it, it was really slow, low scoring actually. Actually, the two teams didn't even score anything in the first quarter, and it was just low scoring in general. And it was, towards the end, it actually got good, and a lot of people actually didn't feel like watching it. Like I've been seeing on the internet when this happened, and people didn't feel like watching it. Like towards the end of the second quarter. But towards the end it did get good, third and fourth quarter, towards the end and stuff, and it actually did end up going into overtime, which is actually kind controversial, and we'll get into the controversy of the overtime period. But third and fourth quarters, you know, got a little bit even more interesting. Usher did a halftime performance, which I wasn't really. It's not really what I was expecting. It wasn't the best halftime performance I've seen. But the Super Bowl, just in general this year, was kind of a subpar. I mean, a lot of people would agree with me on the internet, and around the NFL, news and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of people would agree with me that this was a very subpar kind of mid Super Bowl, as some people would put it. Now it did go into overtime, and both teams, whatever, did their thing in overtime. And then eventually the Chiefs went down the line and they scored a game winning touchdown. And the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, which, back to back Super Bowl wins, which is, a lot of people didn't like it, which for me, I mean, good for them. I mean, honestly, it's not easy to make it to the Super Bowl, let alone win back to back times. Good for the Chiefs franchise and good for the Chiefs fans, even though I'm not really a huge fan of the Chiefs myself. Good for the fans, the franchise, and everything for back to back wins in the Super Bowl. Like I said, even though I'm not a huge fan of the Chiefs, good for them. You gotta show sportsmanship a little bit. And obviously, a lot of people are hating on the Chiefs for a bunch of different reasons, but you gotta hand it to them. You gotta definitely hand it to them. And the Niners actually said that they got confused, or they weren't told the overtime rules, or that they weren't told that the overtime rules were different in a playoff game, which technically, obviously, Super Bowl is playoff game. Which, if you score a touchdown, you win the game. That's just how it is always, regular season or postseason. So it's kind of the same. I don't really see their case there, but that's what they claimed. I don't really see the case. I don't really see anything happening with it, but I figured it was worth a mention. Now, there was also this incident that happened. It was, not sure which quarter it was, but it was earlier on in the game, and actually the Chiefs, believe it or not, were actually struggling a little bit towards, the first and the second quarter and a little bit of the third. They were struggling against the Niners. There was actually this one sequence where, and it's actually pretty controversial, if you will. A lot of people were having different perspectives on why he was doing it, but there's this one where Travis Kelce pretty much yelled at Andy Reid, which is the Chiefs head coach, if you don't know. He pretty much yelled at Andy Reid, and I'll show the clip here in a minute. It's actually a very interesting moment. He simply stated, Travis Kelce did after the end of the game, he was just, really frustrated about the team at that time and how, everything was flowing. And, I don't really blame him, but sometimes, you got to have boundaries. I'll show the clip here.
Fumble. He comes over to Andy. He goes, "Keep me in." What happened is, on the fumble, he was not in the game. Noah Gray went in. Fumble. He comes over to Andy. He goes, "Keep me in." What happened is, on the fumble, he was not in the game. Noah Gray went in.
Yeah, so they actually ended up mentioning they pretty much took him out of the game and during the fumble and everything. Because actually, that was another thing. There was a lot of fumbles during the game. There were so many fumbles, which is something else I was really frustrated about. On both teams, there was a fumble every other drive and everything. So there were a lot of fumbles in the game. So that was another issue I personally had with this year's Super Bowl. And I just thought it was an interesting little thing that I noticed happened. And A.J. Brown actually tweeted that if he did that, he would be thrown out of the game. And everybody was admiring his point, he's right, So it was, something that I just thought was pretty interesting. But I think everything's all good now between Travis Kelce and Andy Reid. I don't think there was anything too much behind it, but I just thought it was a little bit interesting tidbit of information to show. It's always something that happens, no matter what. But that's pretty much my thoughts on the Super Bowl, even though pretty much nobody wanted, including me, nobody wanted these two teams to play, or not even the Niners, just mainly the Chiefs. Nobody really wanted to see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I really don't have a problem with the Niners, and I don't think they're a bad team either. But primarily, nobody wanted to see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and I don't really blame them. But that's pretty much my thoughts on the Super Bowl. Like I said, we're definitely going to be bringing my thoughts back. Like I said, have a lot of stuff cooking up for my thoughts. This series is going to make almost a full comeback on the channel, so I'm excited for you guys to see different stuff. But that'll pretty much do it. Make sure to subscribe for more content, like video, all good stuff, Discord, Twitch, Instagram, links in the description. This is our annual thing, our annual Super Bowl My Thoughts. Now, of course, you guys leave your thoughts down in the comments. Let's discuss. What do you think on the Super Bowl? Do you think the Chiefs should have won? Whatever. Maybe you guys think about the Super Bowl. Comment that down below. But yeah, with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.